Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, dobar dan. It's Charles, your American druže. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about something that a lot of people are confused on. And I speak every day to foreigners that are interested in Serbia and answer questions about Serbia and do all this stuff. And it seems like those people that know nothing about Serbia have still heard about a few Serbian names from the 1990s. That seem to be synonymous with evil, Some of those names are Slobodan Milosevic, the former president of Yugoslavia, Radovan Karadzic, Ratko Mladic, and Vojislav Šešelj. They're probably the four most notorious names that are out there. Serbia right now is a pretty divided place, On Facebook, I have 5,000 friends, 5,700 followers, so roughly probably 10,000 of those are Serbian. My Serbian friends are very, very divided on that. I've got many Serbian friends that are liberal Serbs, and they are not big fans of those guys. But I've got a ton of friends that are big supporters of those guys, And before you start thinking, oh, Charlie's a nationalist, Charles is a Serbian nationalist, which is not even possible. Because I'm not a foreigner. I am a foreigner. I'm not a Serbian. And I'm just trying to give you a certain viewpoint that I think a lot of people bypass, Today we're going to talk about Vojislav Šešelj. Kind of a difficult name to say. All those V names in Serbian are difficult. Vojislav. Very hard to say, Anyway, this gentleman he's almost 60 years of age, one of the most intelligent people on the planet. He used to serve in the capacity of Deputy Prime Minister of Serbia, of Yugoslavia, I'm sorry. So after those wars, they set up the ICTY, which is an International Criminal Court for the Tribunal of the former Yugoslavia, whatever. And this gentleman voluntarily turned himself in because he was being indicted for crimes against humanity. Vojislav Šešelj was born during Tito's reign, so he grew up and he went to university. Very, very smart man. He's got a number of different degrees that he got at an early age. Very, very intelligent human being, whether you like the guy or you hate the guy. Very smart man. Anyway, he gets to the International Criminal Court. He's there in February of 2003. The trial against him does not start till February of 2004. Then, today is 2014. This man has still never been found guilty, never been found innocent. It's still this ongoing trial. That something always happens. In 1 year, I forget what it was, 2007 or 2000, maybe 2005, I'm sorry. He asked to publicly give a speech or release some statement about the International Criminal Tribunal. And he mentioned some very, very explicit, filthy things, something about oral sex, and talked about how one of the judges was a prostitute, and in a very not very polite way of saying things. But I'm not saying I like Šešelj or I hate Šešelj. I'm looking at it just from a non position, really. I'm looking at it from the outside. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that he went to the criminal court in 2003 and he's still there in 2014 and they haven't even found him guilty or anything. He was diagnosed with cancer last year and he's currently going through chemotherapy, I guess. And so there's talk about releasing him before the elections that are coming up here in March in Serbia. So I think it's a good move. The guy's been in prison for a number of years. They cannot even find what to charge him with. He's been able to break through everything that they've thrown at him. He's been able to counter it and get it thrown out. And I think it's time that Mr. Šešelj is released. He's got 4 kids. He's got a wife, Jadranka, and he's still the leader of the Serbian Radical Party. So hard to tell what'll happen when he comes back here. In my viewpoint, and I know you don't give a shit, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I don't think it would be a good move to have him as president of your country. Just for the fact, even though I respect what he's trying to do for Serbia and Serbians, I think he still might isolate you guys a little more than you need. You know, he's got some really strong statements, and he really cares about Serbs and the Serbian heritage and everything. But I just don't know if it's a wise move if you look at your future, the young people's future here in Serbia. You know, I think it might isolate you a little more. Politics in this day and age is an ugly, ugly business. No matter how much you despise the American government, the Russian government, the Chinese government, to survive in this economy, you really got to kind of kiss their ass, and to have some extreme partisan like him in charge of your entire country, I don't think it's a wise move. But, just my 2 cents coming from an American. A lot of my Serbian friends here would disagree with that. And I don't know, that's it. But I'm not here to ridicule the man, and I'm definitely not saying I love the man. I'm just giving my point that I think he's the longest person, how would you say it? The longest condemned man to be in The Hague and not to be found guilty or innocent. Many, many others, it's really sad, that a lot of these other people have been exonerated from their, time in The Hague. Many of these other countries around us, Bosnia, Croatians, the Albanians, so many of their people that did horrid, disgusting things, just like some of the Serbs did, they were found innocent. Or some of them that were found guilty have been served their time and been released. But the massive percentage of the people in there that's been convicted are Serbians, and it's just not fair, So just open your eyes, and I think anybody that actually has a sense of justice or international courts or whatever will realize that going in February 2003 and today being February of 2014, that's too goddamn long to be sitting there without charges, without a conviction, without something, Anyway, that's it. Do Virginia, have a nice day.